Sometimes you need to use two verbs, two actions in one phrase. And that's where the confusion comes for Russian learners. Here we have two of the most common mistakes. The first one. Students use the incorrect aspect for the first verb or for the second verb in the sentence. And the second mistake is when students try to conjugate the second verb in the sentence. Today we're going to discuss everything related to the use of the infinitive in the Russian sentence. The second verb in the sentence is always an infinitive, so you don't need to change it anyhow. You don't conjugate it and you don't put it in any other form. Always, that's the basic form of the verb. Usually, basic forms, they have to at the end, or if they are reflexive, you will have ся at the end. Here, if you think about English, you usually show this infinitive, the basic form of the verb, with the part to. So it's like, I want to dance, or I need to go. Here, usually everything is clear. But more often, people make mistakes when we are having such sentences as I can dance or I should go. So where you don't use this part to. So in such sentences, people try to conjugate the Russian verb. So for example, for the phrase I can dance, they try to translate as Я могу танцую. So both verbs they try to use in this form for the first person, singular. But no, don't do it. Always, if this second verb is somehow related to the first verb, you will use it in the basic form, in the infinitive. Okay, that's been said, and now let's move on to the general use of the infinitive in the sentence, of what aspect we should choose for our infinitive. And here the rules are very similar for the basic rule when we choose the aspect for the first verb in our sentence. If you missed my video about aspects of the verbs, you can watch it here. And also, people who are studying my course about aspects of Russian verbs, they already know how to use infinitives correctly, because there I made a big lecture about this topic. And if you also want to know more or everything about these aspects of the verbs, you can also study my course. The link you will find in the description of the video. First, let's talk about imperfective aspect. We will use it when we're talking about the action with no indication of its limitation or result. So usually it will be a process of the action. For example, here. Я хочу учить арабский язык. Я хочу учить. The infinitive. Now we're talking only about infinitives. So our infinitive учить in imperfective aspect, which shows that here you're interested only in the process of learning Arabic language. Maybe you don't have any special goal. You just like the language and that's why you want to learn it. Then the second example. Нам надо смотреть фильмы на испанском. Also, you're talking in general. Нам надо смотреть. So, смотреть here, or it can be a process of watching different movies in Spanish, or just a fact that you want or you need to watch movies in Spanish. Not something specific, not some specific movie. Here, again, just in general. And the same, for example, мне надо читать много книг. Надо читать. Again, imperfective, just because you're talking about yourself and you want to read a lot just in general. For the perfective aspect, it'll be just the opposite. It'll be the action with the indication of its limitation or result when you have a special goal. Here we can say «Я хочу выучить арабский язык». The same example, but different aspect. And it already changed the meaning of your sentence. So you want to learn it, but in this case, you're not, okay, maybe you're interested, obviously, in learning the language, but here you already have the goal. You want to learn it and you want to speak it fluently, because the verb выучить shows that you need and you want to learn the language, like perfectly. The same we can say for movies and the book. Нам надо посмотреть новый фильм. You need to watch a new movie. Now you're talking about a specific movie, so that's why you need to start doing the action and then you need to finish it. The same will be for books. Мне надо прочитать эту книгу. Прочитать. You already use perfective just because we have here the special book. Эту книгу. Another important meaning of the imperfective aspect is the repetition of the action. For example, надо всегда покупать фрукты и овощи на рынке. The word всегда shows us that you repeat this action. So always you need to buy fruits and vegetables at the market. Here we don't have a choice. Then the second example. Надо ходить к врачу один раз в год. Again, once a year. You repeat the action every year, so that's why надо ходить, the imperfective aspect. The opposite will be for perfective. So here we will use perfective when we're talking about one single action. For example, завтра мне надо купить фрукты и овощи. Only tomorrow. You're not talking about always that you need to buy fruits and vegetables in the market. Here only tomorrow you need to buy it. Or через неделю мне надо пойти к врачу. Надо пойти. Perfective only because you're saying через неделю at the beginning. So in this time you're not talking about the repetition of this action. Just once in a week you will need to go to see the doctor. And now I'm gonna give you exclusive information. We have a list of verbs and some special phrases, and after these words you will always use imperfective or perfective. So basically what you need to do here is to learn all these words by heart. We won't have a lot, so don't worry. And if you see this verb on the first place, like the first verb of your sentence, afterwards you will use or imperfective or perfective, according to the verb we have. Here we don't need to think about the rule that we were just discussing, because it won't work in here. It'll be just verbs, and after special words and verbs, you will have to use imperfective or perfective. And now we will start from imperfective verbs. Here we have such list of verbs. Начинать or начать, заканчивать, закончить, продолжать, продолжить, бросать, бросить, переставать, перестать, учиться, and устать. So after these 7 verbs, you will always use imperfective aspect. For example, я начала рисовать картину вчера. First, it can be confusing because the first verb начала, I started, we use in the perfective aspect. So you might think that, okay, it'll be 2 verbs in the sentence, so both of them I should use in the perfective aspect. But no, after the word начать, we always use imperfective. That's why I said я начала рисовать. Not я начала нарисовать. No. In this case, it's imperfective. And here, even if I were saying the first verb, like начать, in the imperfective form, like, for example, я начинала учить французский 2 раза. So, я начинала 2 times. In this case, it's like repetition of the action. That's why we used the word to start, to begin, in the form of imperfective. So you started, you stopped, and then again you started and you stopped the second time. That's why it's repetition of the action. But the second verb, я начинала учить, again in the imperfective form, just because we have this word начинать or начать. The same examples will be for every other verb in the list. For example, ты уже закончила работать? Or он бросил курить 2 года назад. Like this, you can make examples for other verbs that you had in the list. Just remember that after all these verbs, you will use imperfective aspect. And a few words more. After these words, we will also use only imperfective aspect. It'll be не надо, не нужно, doesn't matter, they are the same. Or не стоит, незачем, достаточно, хватит, бесполезно, and вредно. So, as you can notice, all these words, they are like impersonal, in the impersonal form. So with these words, you will use the person in the dative case. So if you need to say I'm sick of something, you're not saying я надоела. You have to say мне надоело. And let's take a few examples. For example, хватит смотреть сериалы целый день. Or очень вредно курить. Or мне надоело сидеть дома. Again, we take any other word and we make a sentence. Just don't forget to put the verb in the necessary form. And also here, pay attention to the first 2 words, не надо or не нужно. At the very beginning of the lesson, I was giving you examples like I have to go. Мне нужно идти. Or it was another example, мне надо смотреть. Or нам надо смотреть фильмы. So there it was depending on the situation. So if it's a repeated action or if it's a single action. If it has the result or it doesn't have the result. But here we have the same phrase, не надо, не нужно, but it's negative. And when it's negative, we don't care about the situation. It's always imperfective aspect. Мне не надо смотреть. You cannot say мне не надо посмотреть, even though if you're talking about one single action. And finally, perfective aspect. Here we won't have so many words, so don't worry. Here we will have just 3 of them. It'll be забывать, забыть, удаваться, удаться и успевать, успеть. After only these 3 verbs, we will have to use perfective aspect. For example, мне удалось встать рано сегодня. Also pay attention that the word удалось, now удаваться, удаться, we also use as an impersonal verb. So here I didn't say я удалось. I said мне удалось using dative case. And the verb удалось I used in the neutral form. Or я забыла сделать домашнее задание сегодня. Okay, and finally, the last part, the word НЕЛЬЗЯ. This word actually is very interesting, very important because it has a lot of different meanings and it will change the meaning according to this situation. And now we are gonna talk about all these different situations where we use the word НЕЛЬЗЯ, plus in what form, in what aspect we should use the verb after this word. So first we're gonna talk again only about imperfective. And here we're talking about actions that we cannot, it's impossible, or it's really difficult for the action to be repeated. So the same logic, if we cannot repeat the action, then we should use imperfective. For example, плохо, что нельзя все время отдыхать. Все время отдыхать. Все время shows this repetition of the action or at the same time a process of the action. So that's why we used here отдыхать. And in this case, the word нельзя means like you cannot or it's impossible to rest all the time. The second meaning here is when something is forbidden. Everywhere we can see this sign. Здесь нельзя курить. Нельзя курить just because it's forbidden to smoke here. And the last example for the word нельзя and when we have to use the imperfective after this word is when it makes no sense to do something. So it's not forbidden, you still can do it, but it's just useless. For example, we can say here нельзя покупать детям все, что они хотят. Obviously, here we don't translate like it's forbidden to buy kids everything they want. Obviously, it's impossible. You don't need to do it. It's useless to do this thing. So that's why here it's нельзя plus an imperfective aspect. And perfective here, again, just the opposite. And for perfective, we will have just one meaning. It'll be the action that's really impossible or difficult to complete one single action. Again, we're going back to our first rule when we're talking only about general rules. Here it's the same. For perfective, one single action. So we can say here мне нельзя даже отдохнуть сегодня. Нельзя отдохнуть. We use perfective only because we're talking about today. So you cannot, it's impossible for you to rest, to take a rest today because maybe you're super busy. Or if you want to ask the question, you can also use here perfective plus нельзя. Мне нельзя покурить сейчас. If you notice, here we can use мне нельзя покурить сейчас and, for example, other question мне можно покурить сейчас as the same question. For us, it doesn't matter that one is negative, one is positive. It means the same thing for us and we use it in the same situation. That's it. Now you know how to use the verb, the infinitive, in the Russian sentence. It's not easy because everything related to aspects of Russian verbs is not easy. Here we can have a lot of different rules, but in this video I gave you the basics, how usually we can choose the aspect for the infinitive of the verb. Now you can practice on my Patreon page where I posted 2 documents with the exercises, so they will help you also to remember this rule. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to my channel and learn Russian with me.